Welcome back to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today because we're tackling something absolutely fundamental. When we look at massive corporate successes in the world right now, it's super easy to get distracted by flashy CEOs or those crazy viral marketing campaigns. But let's be real. The actual secret lies in their architecture. Today, we're diving into business models as the true underlying blueprints behind incredible wealth and scale. Which brings us to the billion-dollar question. What actually separates a massive company from a first-year failure? We kind of default to thinking it's a revolutionary product, right? Or maybe some all-star team of developers. But honestly, the fundamental secret dividing the winners from the losers isn't the product. And it's not the team. It is the underlying business model. It's that quiet engine running right beneath the hood. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to run through the business model blueprint, the recurring revenue engine, the platform playbook, the free monetization illusion, the e-commerce evolution, and finally, how to choose your best fit. Let's get right into it. All right, section 1, the business model blueprint and its 3 core pillars. Okay, before we get into the weeds with specific examples, we gotta define what a business model actually is. At its absolute core, it's just the fundamental method of how a company makes its money. Every single model out there basically boils down to 3 core questions. Who are your customers? What value do you give them? And how do you get paid for it? It's your classic rule of 3. Now, I know these sound incredibly simple on the surface, but the specific blueprint a company chooses to answer them completely dictates its entire future trajectory. If you get this wrong, literally nothing else matters. Moving on to section 2, the recurring revenue engine, looking at subscriptions and SaaS. Let's talk about MRR, or monthly recurring revenue. Guys, this is the absolute lifeblood of the subscription model. This is where modern companies figured out how to turn a random occasional purchase into a daily habit. They realized, hey, it's actually way more lucrative to rent access to a product rather than sell it outright. So instead of convincing you to buy a DVD once, companies like Netflix or Spotify with your music charge a recurring fee. They pull in money every single month from the exact same customer. And investors, they are utterly obsessed with this model because of one magic word: predictability. If you can keep delivering continuous value, your income becomes wonderfully, predictably steady. And that leads us to a hypercharged version of this concept, SaaS, or software as a service. This is software delivered straight via the cloud, where, again, customers rent instead of buy. Since it's all digital, the cost to scale is incredibly low, which translates to some seriously high profit margins. Think about companies like Salesforce or Slack. They use this super profitable model to solve everyday business problems, basically making themselves completely indispensable to other companies. And if you're wondering why this is so powerful, just think about this number: 90%. That is the massive average customer retention rate for SaaS companies. Let that sink in for a second. Once a customer sets up these tools, they almost never leave. You aren't constantly fighting tooth and nail to replace lost customers. You're just stacking fresh revenue right on top of the old stuff. It's the ultimate path to massive scale. All right, section 3, the platform playbook, focusing on the marketplace model. You'll often hear the marketplace called the middleman model. It's fascinating, right? Giants like Airbnb and Uber don't actually own any of the stuff they sell. Airbnb owns 0 hotels. Uber owns 0 cars. Instead, their whole game relies entirely on the network effect. They built a platform, established trust between 2 different groups, and then simply take a commission for making the connection. And the real beauty of the network effect is that as more people jump in, like more hosts listing houses and more travelers booking rooms, the platform automatically becomes way more valuable for everybody. It's an incredibly powerful scaling effect. But there is a massive hurdle you got to clear here: the notorious chicken and egg problem. Buyers need sellers to be there to find any value, but sellers aren't going to show up unless buyers are already hanging out with their wallets open. Getting both of these sides to jump onto the platform at the exact same time is the ultimate make or break challenge of the entire marketplace model. Next up, section 4, the free monetization illusion, freemium and advertising. Now we're getting into the incredible psychological power of giving a product away completely for free just to build a massive, dedicated user base. Let's walk through the freemium funnel. Step 1, free users try the product. Step 2, they get totally hooked on the value it provides. Step 3, a small percentage of them eventually pay for premium upgrades. Free plus premium equals freemium. Companies like Zoom and LinkedIn play this game perfectly. Get this, Dropbox actually grew to 100 million users without spending a single dollar on ads. Not $1. They just relied on the overwhelming appeal of their free plan, knowing that if the value was there, enough people would eventually pony up for extra storage. But wait, what if there is no premium upgrade? Well, consider that old tech adage: if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. That brilliantly sums up the advertising model used by titans like Facebook and TikTok. The free app? That's just the lure. The real business is collecting your data and selling highly targeted audience access to advertisers. And if you want to know just how incredibly lucrative that targeted data actually is, wrap your head around this staggering number: over $200 billion. That's the ad revenue Google pulled in during a single year. Contrast that $0 cost to you, the user, with the absolutely massive global scale of advertising. When you've got a huge engaged audience, ads are without a doubt one of the most scalable ways to monetize on the planet. Moving right along, Section 5, the e-commerce evolution, modern commerce and community. Look, buying and selling stuff online is obviously nothing new, but modern commerce has completely evolved past traditional headaches like warehousing and inventory. Today, you don't even need to hold inventory. With dropshipping, third parties hold and ship everything for you. With print on demand, the product literally doesn't even exist until someone hits that order button. Because e-commerce logistics are so much easier and more accessible now, just having a product isn't enough anymore. The true modern moat, your real competitive advantage, is the brand and the community you build around it. Gymshark is actually the perfect example of this. They went from a scrappy garage startup to a billion-dollar fitness brand. How? By building a massive, highly engaged fitness community. In the modern e-commerce world, sure, what you sell matters, but who you sell it to and the shared identity you provide to that community, that matters so much more. All right, final section: choosing your best fit and making that ultimate blueprint decision. So we've walked through subscriptions, SaaS, marketplaces, freemium, ads, and e-commerce. And as we wrap this up, I want to remind you that there's no single perfect model that just guarantees success out of the box. The best model is simply the one that perfectly fits your specific audience, your product, and your unique goals. But if we distill the primary lesson from all these giants, it really boils down to this: they don't just pick a model, they obsess over delivering value first, and the money follows. Whether you're charging a monthly fee, taking a marketplace cut, or serving ads, if you aren't solving a real problem and delivering genuine value, the whole architecture is just going to collapse. So I want to leave you with one final, absolutely vital question. Which business model are you building? Now that you know the blueprints behind the biggest successes in the world, how are you going to architect your own value? Think deeply about that, apply these frameworks to your own projects, and I will catch you in the next explainer.